Even a decade ago, it would have been hard to imagine people tracking their health or reading text messages on their wristwatch. Very Dick Tracy, right? But such wearable technology has quickly gone from science fiction to science fact. And with more mind-boggling advances coming all the time, we wanted to explore how this device-human interaction is reshaping our world. Joining us now to consider that in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Rosalind Picard, founder and director of the Effective Computing Research Group at the MIT Media Lab. She's also co-founder of the wearable tech company Empatica, Inc. And here in our studio, Isabelle Peterson, professor and director of the Decimal Lab at the University of Ontario Institute of Technology. She's also a Canada Research Chair in Digital Life, Media and Culture. And Amanda Cosco, journalist and founder of Electric Runway, a fashion tech website. And we are delighted to welcome you three to our program tonight. Let us start right away with something that just sets up our conversation, talking about the growth of wearable technology. According to the International Data Corporation, a market intelligence firm, more than 102 million wearable devices were shipped in 2016. That's a growth rate of nearly 17% from the year before, and the majority were fitness trackers and smart watches. Rosalind, let's get you in first. We know about Fitbits and smartwatches, but in your view, what else constitutes wearable technology?
Wearable technology is really any technology that we might wear on our bodies. It could be smart jewelry, it could be smart clothing, and of course smart accessories like wristbands and earrings and scarves.
And would you count a smartphone as wearable technology?
You know, some of my colleagues have considered smartphones and even our cars as wearables attached to us and moving with us. And I think it's sort of a matter of individual style there. I almost never am having my phone on my body. It's usually in my bag. Whereas most men I know almost always have it in their pocket, in their shirt or their pants. So it's definitely wearable for some people and not really for others.
It seems to be wearable for Isabelle Peterson today. What have you got there?
Today I'm wearing the Apple Watch. It's only Series 1, and we're already on to Series 3.
And what does it do that my trusty old BlackBerry can't do?
Well, you can begin to communicate with other people without actually looking at your watch, looking at your phone. And to me, that's the distinguishing mark of a wearable. It doesn't take you away from the rest of your work, your life, your social interactions.
How'd you get into this in the first place?
I had a digital startup company around 1999. I co-owned it with an inventor, and we started to get interested in human-computer interaction. And I got caught up in this sort of optimistic, almost utopian idea that you could wear technology on the body, that it would be a lot more liberating than the desktop, which sort of tied you to your desk. And I became fascinated with people at MIT and the Media Lab and Georgia Tech, and started to think I could get into designing wearable technology. So I went to the University of Waterloo to work on that.
As an undergrad?
No, I had my undergrad, and I went there to do my master's in human-computer interaction design in the English department, and went on to do a PhD in that.
Okay. Amanda, how did you get to this?
Well, I actually started writing about wearables and technology on the body when I wrote about this self-identified cyborg named Neil Harbison. This was my first big break as a journalist. I was trying to pitch culture writers and, culture editors and art editors, and I wasn't having much luck as a recent grad trying to work in the world of ideas. And then I stumbled upon this story of this self-identified cyborg who's going to be speaking in Toronto. His name's Neil Harbison. He's from Catalonia, Spain.
What do you mean he's a self-identified cyborg?
Well, he has an antenna osseointegrated into his head, and that means attached to the bone. And so the antenna comes from the back of his head and sits about here in front of his head. And it's not something that he can take off. He showers with it. He sleeps with it. It's actually attached right to his bone. And
why?
The reason, that's of course the next question. Yeah. The reason that he has this is so that he can hear color. So Neil was born an artist, and he was also born colorblind. So he has a rare condition called achromatopsia, which means he sees the world entirely in grayscale. And about 10 years ago, he started this digital project with an agency to cybernetically extend his senses. And it started with a headset and a battery pack. But the trouble was that he had to carry around the backpack. The headset was cumbersome. And what would happen was the antenna would pick up on color. Every color gives off a sound frequency, and the antenna would translate the color in front of him into sound, which he would then hear via bone conduction in his skull, and he would be able to distinguish between red, blue, etc. What happened over time was he found that this extended his senses to such an extent that he wanted to have it all the time, so he got the wearable technology actually implanted into his skull.
Amazing. Rosalind, tell us, if you would, about the work you do and perhaps something that you've invented in terms of wearable technology.
Yes, I got into wearables in the early 90s when actually an Toronto resident, Steve Mann, was working in my lab as my student. He had been building wearables that aided his photography. And I was interested in building wearables that measured emotion. I had started in an area called affective computing. And in order to understand people's feelings and emotions with technology, we were putting sensors on the body. And with those sensors, we were measuring things like if you were getting increasingly excited or stressed, if your muscles were tense, or if you were very relaxed. And also we were trying to measure things like if you were happy and interested. And as we started to wear the sensors, we started to get data that could tell us these differences in affective state. Since then, a bunch of our work has been commercialized. In fact, I'm wearing two of the wearables today that are commercialized by Empatica. That's Italian for empathetic. And this company has made these two wearables to be medical devices.
Medical devices that do what?
These two devices collect, well, the one on the right, the E4, collects data related to heart rate variability, skin conductance, and movement that's being used in a lot of clinical trials and studies for epilepsy, for diabetes, for anxiety disorders, for obesity studies, for heart disease, a whole lot of different pursuits there where the stress response, the autonomic nervous system, and movement are particularly important. And it measures temperature too. And then this one measures a subset of that, but also in a medical quality way. This is called the Embrace. And this one also runs advanced AI, machine learning, on board. And right now in Europe, it's certified for detecting convulsive seizures to give an alert if a person is having a convulsive seizure and needs somebody to come and provide first aid to them.
Absolutely fascinating. Let's take this opportunity to welcome a fourth person to our discussion, and we would like to introduce in San Francisco, California via Skype, Tom Emmerich. He is a partner with Super Ventures and the founder of We Are Wearables. That's a wearable technology meetup. Tom, it's good of you to join us from the left coast, and maybe you could start by telling us how you came to be interested in this subject matter.
Sure. Actually, I began as a blogger. I started writing about this future that I saw, which I thought was going to be all screens. I thought our floor was going to be a screen, our wall, we were going to be wearing screens. And that was because I had a lot of experience working in mobile and tablet and e-readers. But as I started to dig further into this hypothesis, I learned that actually the future is going to be screenless, and that we're disassembling the computers as we know it and recreating them as part of ourselves and our environment through the Internet of Things and wearable technology. And I started to write about this very early on in 2012, 2013. And that caught the attention of some larger publications from my small Tumblr blog. And I covered the space quite a bit. And many of these startups were in Canada, especially in Toronto, which was very fortunate for me. I then moved into becoming an Uber user, of course, of wearables. I wasn't just going to be writing about them. I wanted to live and breathe them. And I became a Google Glass user in 2013 and was rocking the Google Glass down the streets of Toronto, one of only about 10 in Canada at the time. And I learned that one of the biggest things about this new technology was that we needed to demonstratize it, meaning a lot of people were really fearful about, especially Google Glass at the time, because they just had not seen something like this before. And so I felt it was my responsibility as a Google Glass explorer to allow other people to wear Google Glass, to try out Google Glass. And instead of me being stopped on the street constantly down the streets of Toronto, I decided that I would set up a meetup back in 2014. And in 2015, that meetup became We Are Wearables, a large community organization that is now across North America. It's grown to over 120,000 in terms of our reach. And our main mission is to really allow for individuals to get their hands on technology to better understand how they can use it for work and for their life. And really, that's really been my mission when it comes to this technology, is to really uncover how this new technology, this new wave of computing is going to impact our humanity. And I really do believe that it's part of our human evolution, this wearable technology that we're talking about.
We are going to get to that.
And as I built these communities, it led to me becoming a VC, and that's why I'm in San Francisco. I'm not only providing a platform to raise up wearable startups, but also now I'm investing in them as well.
Okay, with all of that sort of general information in place, I want to get more specific now and even more futuristic if that's possible. And Isabelle, to you first on this, because Tom mentioned Google Glass, and I do want to pick up on that. I mean, I do recall when the sense one got was that everybody was going to be wearing one of these things and it was going to completely revolutionize our lives by now. It hasn't quite caught on. How come?
I think that Google Glass in some ways was mismarketed. I think it was released on April 4th, 2012, and Sergey Brin, had people jumping out of buildings wearing Google Glass, and the marketing campaign released the one-day video that had really framed a picture of a San Francisco early adopter going through the streets and enjoying his day, augmented by all these wonderful virtual components that you could see in Google Glass. And I don't think it really related to everyday life. I don't think everyday people could imagine themselves doing that. And so the value proposition of wearing an eye display over the eye at all times sort of didn't mesh with the way that they saw themselves.
If it had been marketed sort of more appropriately to the way you think it might have better caught on, what would have been the unique selling proposition that you think might have got people turned on by it?
Well, I think that's at the heart of the problem. I mean, the GoPro camera, for example, is very clunky and awkward, but thousands of people wear it, right? Because it just gives you the opportunity to show your friends and all of your social contacts how exciting your life is. So it doesn't matter that it's clunky or awkward. So I think that was the problem. That it didn't have that killer app that people could kind of get past the idea of wearing that. And now it's morphed into being an enterprise device. So people who really need it do use it, and it's very useful for that.
You've got one?
As Tom mentioned, it was never released in Canada.
Huh.
And I thought that was sort of a fascinating Canadian cultural problem, that there's a lot of technology that we don't ever get, but we hear about it in the ad campaigns, and we understand it, we're sort of socialized towards it, but we don't ever get it.
Amanda, you ever use one of these things?
I have used Google Glass before. I don't own one. I think that as someone who covers the intersection of fashion and technology, there was an aesthetic problem with Google Glass right from the get-go. It didn't look nice, and I think that at the end of the day, humans are still vain, and we want to look good and feel good in the products that we purchase.
Well, you look like a cyborg when you wear one, don't you?
You do, yeah. And I think maybe that'll be more mainstream in a couple years with all of this buzz we're hearing around smart glasses. But I think it was just a little bit too early for its time, and as Isabelle mentioned, it's definitely found a home in enterprise.
Huh. Rosalind, in your view, why didn't it catch on?
Well, I was a glass explorer too and wore it quite a bit. I think that in addition to the points that have already been made, I think that people ran into exactly the same problem actually we had in the Media Lab when we first came out with wearable cameras, and that was the kind of trumped up fears about you bringing cameras into places where cameras usually weren't. So when you're on a GoPro on the ski slopes or on your bike, that feels like that's an okay place to shoot video. But when we're having a conversation at a party, or we're eating dinner at a table, or we're in a meeting room together, and suddenly I'm able to film everything going on, then that made people uneasy. So the negatives I heard were more about the fears of people recording things and using your information without your permission.
Tom,
I also saw a lot of benefits, and I'm actually a believer that someday we will wear our dumb glasses and be embarrassed by them. We'll think, wow, you haven't got smart glasses yet. because the advantage of having the information come up not on your wristwatch, but come up in your smart glasses in an unobtrusive way is fabulous. I can remember walking through the airport loaded with my stuff, and my phone goes off and I can't get to it, and you can't even raise your wrist to look at a call. This is before smart watches could do that. And my Google Glass and predecessors to it that we built at the Media Lab would automatically let me know that my husband was trying to reach me and the first few lines of the message. And that was really fabulous, right? I could stop and put things down, whereas for other callers, I might have just kept marching on to the next flight.
Tom, I suspect this leads us to a bit of a discussion about whether wearable technology is sort of changing what it means, I don't know about to be human, but to act in a way that we consider to be consistent with being a human. Do you know what I'm saying? Is wearable technology changing that?
I do. And listen, it is changing the way that we are human. It is enhancing and augmenting our capabilities, our abilities, and it's making us superhuman. It's giving us superpowers. We see that with Google Glass today. I mean, the thing with Google Glass we have to remember is that it was a Project Glass. And so Google made a huge experiment, put it out in the wild, and guess what they found? They found that it was really successful, as Isabelle mentioned, in the enterprise. And Google Glass are making workers super workers. They're taking workers that just got on the line and turning them from amateurs to professionals. They're reducing errors and emissions. They're realizing huge cost savings and efficiencies. And so as Rosalind pointed out, there will become a time where you not having these devices will put you at a disadvantage. The new disability is not having access to this technology. And in that way, then it underscores how critical this technology is in making us different humans. And this isn't very far off from our smartphones today. I mean, you throw me in the middle of New York without a smartphone and I don't know what I'm going to do, right? I'm not the same person without that device. And now we're moving this technology one step closer to us. We're closing that separation gap so that the technology becomes a part of us. And as Amanda pointed out right at the top of the show here, this is not the ultimate step. We're going to continue to integrate this technology until it really is a part of us.
Since you used the word enterprise in that answer, I do want to follow up with Isabelle on the notion of whether science fiction programs like Star Trek or Star Wars or the like what are they doing in terms of changing our comfort levels with wearable technologies?
Science fiction is crucial to wearables. If you think about when I started being interested in it, I realized that inventors were using the language of science fiction in order to invent what they made. And that's because they didn't have a language of exchange. So it sort of has almost a lingua franca component to it, right? Science fiction is how they explained what they wanted to do and how they wanted to augment reality. If you think of Terminator films, right? That is the first visual conceptualization of augmented reality. So putting virtual visuals over top of the real world. So Star Trek absolutely helped to inventors to conceive of technology. But the question you asked was, does it make us comfortable with it? And it does, absolutely. Popular science journalism always begins with a sci-fi scenario before it goes on to explain what a technology does or how a wearable will work. And then it moves into science. So it's really acts as a science accommodator.
Does it have, I mean, I presume the flip side is also possible, which is it has the potential to atomize us more, to isolate us more. Could do that too, right?
Wearables yeah. And science fiction, of course, dystopian science fiction talks about that, criticizes what technology could do to us in a future where technology became more important than humanity.
How do you see that developing as we go along here?
Well, I think that every science fiction story has always kind of been a parable about the relationship with technology all the way back to Frankenstein. And I think that there's always this common denominator that it's not necessarily the technology itself, it's really how we use it. And so it's up to us as humans to really make a decision about, do we want to allow this to alienate and dehumanize ourselves, or do we want to allow this to connect with one another?
I wonder, Rosalind, as well, and we should get into some discussion about public versus private, and I appreciate the comments earlier about how some of what we thought ought to be private made Google Glass problematic because it felt too public. I wonder whether there are other concerns that you might have about the nature of the private information that we've always assumed was private until now, becoming very public because it's all part of this new wearable technology. What are your thoughts on that, Rosalind?
I'm delighted you brought that up. I think our society needs to be having a lot more conversations about what kind of data we want to share and what kind of data we want to protect with privacy. I measure emotional data. My students and I are using wearables and smartphones to collect 24/7 continuously, not only what's going on with your heart and your skin conductance and your stress changing, perhaps second by second with a question somebody's asking you, but we're also measuring your activity, where you are, who you're texting, what you're doing, how often you're opening your phone, actually hundreds of different things. And with that data, we are now able to, all with completely informed consent studies protecting people's identity, we are able to show you a kind of a weather forecast of what the probability is that your mood is going to be good or bad, your stress is going to be high or low, and your health is going to be healthy or unhealthy tomorrow night, based on data from the last several weeks. And this works right now with New England college students, and it's already 82 to 87% accurate, predicting your mood, stress, and health tomorrow night based on your data through today. Now that's incredibly powerful and important information for people's health. And we hope that by giving it to individuals, they can start to change tomorrow night's weather forecast, health forecast, if you will. But one could also imagine how this information could be terribly abused and misused. And we want to do everything we can to enable it to be used to do amazing things for health, like preventing moods from going down and preventing the disastrous depression statistics that everybody's hearing about. But again, that's such sensitive information that if we don't start to put in place protections, then I do worry what could happen.
Tom, could you follow up on that in as much as I would like to think that if we're wearing the technology, then we own that information. But I can also imagine that a lot of others would want that information for whatever purposes they had. How are we going to resolve all that?
Yeah, look, the future does not work if we do not let our information be accessible. Wearable technology, the Internet of Things, it requires us to give information about ourselves in order for computers to work harder, smarter, and faster for us. So in terms of what needs to happen with privacy and our notions of privacy need to change. And I think another thing that we need to decouple is we often confuse privacy and security as being one and the same, and they're not. So it's really important that our data is secure. And it's also very important that we talk about the ownership of data, as Rosalind pointed out. And I see a huge change with blockchain, for example, and other technology trends that are happening, as well as taking a look at the millennials and the generation before them and how they're leveraging their data and in how they're sharing information. And I see a time where our private data, our biological data especially, becomes almost like a new currency where we need to take accountability, we need to take responsibility for that ownership of that data, that's very grave. There's a lot of responsibility attached to that, and so we have to rise to the occasion. But we will start to utilize our biometric information and give organizations access to that in order to enrich the experience. It will be like trading money or having a new form of coin, if you were, that would allow for agencies and brands to better target their offerings to us, which in turn does benefit us. But perhaps we only provide a snippet of that information or even a time snippet of that information so that they don't continue to gain access to things that they don't necessarily need.
Isabelle, I do want to follow up with one thing Tom said there, and that is, I suppose for millennials who are accustomed to uploading every single incident in their lives to social media and sharing it all with the world, their notions of privacy have changed already. For some of us who are not completely comfortable with all of that, do we need to change our understanding and notions of what privacy means now?
Well, I agree with Tom in that it's always a paradox, right? If you want to have these exciting technologies and wearables that augment emotion, that predict emotion, that predict your what your next act, you have to give over a lot of information to third parties. But at the same time, I think people are very concerned about privacy and don't necessarily know how to manage that. I think the problem is in disclosure. I think that companies, entities aren't doing necessarily a good job of explaining how they're using the information, where it's stored, whether, as Tom said, it's secure or not. If you think in food marketing and food packaging, you have to disclose what's in food, whether something is cheese or not cheese. And we've learned to understand that because of that kind of reporting on products.
So we should have the same expectations for this?
I think we have to learn how to categorize and classify these notions so that people understand them and learn them and look out for them themselves.
Amanda, I want to share with you a story I just heard about, and I want to get your comment on this because I gather this past summer, a Wisconsin company began giving employees the option of implanting a microchip between their thumb and forefinger, and they can use it to unlock doors at the company or log into company computers. I don't know if you heard about this before, but if you did, what was your reaction when you heard about it?
Well, I think it's inevitable that we're going to be starting to implant our technology into us, like the story I told of Neil at the top of the program. We're carrying our technology. Our phone is already an extension of ourself. We're beginning to wear our technology, and then I think the next step is that we're actually going to become technology.
We are going to become technology. Okay, does that, sorry, Rosalind, that sounds frightening. Should I be frightened about hearing that?
I think some people think they already are machines. I think that's just a mindset. I don't think we are machines and that we are just technology. Technology, I mean, another way to think about that is technology is something that was invented after you were born, right? And our bodies, merging with different medical technology that is implanted in our heads and our hearts and so forth. I mean, that's been going on for a long time. The concept of cyborg dates back to the early 60s in the Kleins and Klein paper, where they were not thinking about technology implants, they were thinking about spacesuits. And any technology that we wore or coupled with in some way that enhanced our abilities, gave us some superpowers, without us having to think about operating it. So unlike a vehicle that you have to drive, the space suit, you just put it on and it enhanced your ability to breathe in outer space without you having to think about your breathing. So we are already merging with technology. We have been, for the longest time. Remember, paper was once a new technology.
Okay, but hang on, I'm pushing back here a little bit, and with somebody who shares the same last name as the captain of the Enterprise who got turned into Locutus of Borg, I am going to ask you about implantable technology being more than just carrying your smartphone in your jacket pocket. I mean, again, are we getting onto a very dangerous, slippery slope when we start talking about this kind of stuff?
Well, first of all, to get technology implanted, unless you do self-surgery, you have to convince a surgeon that there's some benefit that outweighs the risk. For example, there are brain implants people use with epilepsy, and they get them only after very careful consideration that the opportunity is that it would squelch a seizure with greater success than the person is having without it, using medication and other methods. So I don't think we're going to see willy-nilly people cutting themselves open and stuffing technology in until there is a very clear benefit that outweighs the significant risk of an invasive surgery.
Isabelle, I got to follow up with you on this because I can imagine the conspiracy theorists among us saying this is just another, I can hear Alex Jones saying it already. This is just another way for the government to control your mind and, implantable technology. Calm my fears. Go.
Well, I agree with Rosalind, who said that this process has already started, and Amanda said it as well, right? So we're on this, what I call the continuum of embodiment, and it's definitely something that we have to challenge, right? So we're moving from smartphones to wearables to ingestible technology.
Ingestible?
Yes, you swallow a computer, it goes through your body.
What?
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it provides, it's a camera, right? So it takes pictures of the insides of your digestive tract and can relay that information to a doctor, right, to help patients. So after ingestible is skin-based technology, and the notion of brain implants. So I think that one way that you don't have to be afraid is that it's happening slowly, right? It's a continuum. But I think what we do have to do is challenge it at every stage and ask, well, why do we need it? Who will own it? How do we moderate people, commercial entities making money without explaining, well, what it's going to be used for? But one thing I think we have to notice is that large companies are working on this, right? Intel announced that in 2009, that it wanted chips in its customers' heads. And Elon Musk has started Neuralink, which is a startup that combines AI and the idea of brain implants. So,
Mark Zuckerberg's talked about telepathy already.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, Tom, I need you in here at this moment, and I get why putting implantable technology in the brain to avoid having seizures if you're an epileptic. I get that. That's a great idea.
Right.
It's the next stages down the road, and I'm hearing from Isabelle as well, that we've got to start asking tough questions every step of the way. You on side with that too?
Outside of a medical scenario, you have to kind of see how we've done this before, and I think that will ease your concerns. And I think taking a look at the eyewear journey is a really great place to start. LASIK surgery, way back when we first started the monocle, if you would have gone back and told somebody with a monocle we were going to be slicing and dicing our eyes instead of using a monocle, they would be freaking out like how we are right now on the agenda. So you got to see that we're a little bit at the monocle stage with our wearable technology, especially with augmented reality devices, where we're now using our smartphone and looking through our smartphone. We're literally taking our smartphone and putting it to our eyes. That's the monocle. And so we move from the monocle to the glasses to the contact lenses, and the contact lenses to LASIK surgery. Why? Out of convenience. Because it was more convenient to us, and the value was very clear because we couldn't see. So that is how that journey is going to unfold with wearable technology to implants. And as Isabelle really clearly pointed out, it's going to be slow and gradual. Right now, it seems like a shock, and it's not good to overly talk about implants, in my opinion, right now, where we're just starting to get comfortable with putting, a wristband on our wrist. But this is the direction that we're headed. And you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be wearing your, connected clothing and your smart glasses. And you're going to say to yourself, oh, I know I'm going to go get the LASIK smart surgery because I just can't handle wearing contact lenses and glasses all the time. And it's going to come out of convenience, a genuine place of desire and need, because the value had already been outlined, and you now just want to make your life a little bit easier. That's how it's going to come about.
Okay. Amanda, I'm down to my last 30 seconds here. Are you convinced that wearable technology is going to improve humanity for the better?
I am. I am convinced that it's going to improve humanity for the better. I think, like Tom mentioned, we're enabling ourselves to have superpowers, and I think we're going to experience a new kind of humanity in the future that we never imagined possible before.
Okay, if you're so convinced about that, I'd like you and Isabelle to go like this right now with your left hands. Go ahead, put them both in the middle of the table, and then we need a camera here to get a nice tight shot. Isabelle is walking the walk and talking the talk. She's got her Apple Watch on, which the Red Sox used to steal signals, which I thought was a beautiful thing. But what exactly are you repping there?
I'm wearing an analog watch. I'm doing old school here.
That's very old school. There's nothing wearable about it. Well, I guess that is wearable technology.
It is wearable technology.
But it's pretty 19th century.
Just not digital. Yeah.
Very good. I want to thank all four of you for a terrific discussion here tonight on the agenda. Tom Emmerich in San Francisco, Rosalind Picard at the MIT Media Lab, joining us in the heart of New England, Isabelle Peterson from UOIT, Amanda Cosco, Electric Runway. Thanks so much for everybody for being on TVO tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit TVO.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.